Welcome to the Reach Intercultural Heights 30th Anniversary podcast. I am Janine Hyatt and I'm your host for today's episode. Now, if you are a middle schooler, high schooler, a parent of a teenager, or a person wanting to embark on a journey of self-affirming conversations to success, then this is a podcast for you. Here at Reach Intercultural Heights, we assist our youth in achieving personal and academic growth through our guiding principles, I Matter, which promotes embracing a positive attitude, and I Am Responsible, which caters to improving your self-management skills and behaviors. I Am Considerate, which is all about teamwork with our classmates and others. And the last principle is implementing thinking strategies that aid in making realistic goals for success. Now, because we love you all so much here at Rich, we are releasing podcast videos throughout our 30th anniversary campaign that will inform you about using our four guiding principles to improve self-confidence and reduce self-doubt, and what the Reach Intercultural Heights organization is all about. Now, for today's video, I am joined by RICH Vice Chairman Reverend Dr. David Johnson, and we'll be diving into the importance of our youth learning that they matter and seeing themselves as change makers, and why organizations like RICH are so important. We hope that you leave this episode with an understanding of RICH and the importance of youth empowerment. Now, as I said, we're joined by the Reverend Dr. David M. Johnson, a U.S. Army veteran, former congressional and New York State Senate candidate, former actor and comedian, who was inducted into the Smithsonian Institute as a part of American history and the 108th Congressional Record for his exceptional work with America's youth. Reverend Johnson's lifelong passion and dedication to public service and youth development led him to the RICH organization, where he serves as vice chairman. Reverend Dr. Johnson joined RICH as he believes the organization will activate, motivate, inspire the minds and actions of our youth and resonate their hearts with a moral force to transform the world. So thank you, Reverend Dr. Johnson, for joining me. And before we get into the discussion, I would love to hear about your first encounter with Reach Intercultural Heights, like what motivated you, what drew you to the organization?
Okay. My first encounter with the RICH organization was about 20 years ago. And I met Dr. Dawson through a mutual friend at the time. And she explained to me the mission of her organization. And I was extremely interested in that. And I think at that time, too, I was running for political office as well. And we connected, and she ended up going to a few of my speaking engagements. And we began to build a professional relationship from that point on. You know, I like the fact that she wanted to empower young people, you know, with fresh ideas, you know, or at least prompt them to develop their own ideas to move forward. So that's kind of where we started off, and we just built from there. And time flies, so it's been over 20 years for me. But before I actually met her, I think she was involved for about 10 years. So here we are.
We're celebrating the 30th anniversary.
The 30th anniversary. Yeah. And I want to also say that I've been around with the organization for, as I stated, about 20 years. And recently took on a position as a vice chair. And it has been an honor and humbling experience to be in that position. So I want to thank Dr. Dawson and the board members for approving me to fill that spot. It's big shoes to fill, those that came before me. But, you know, I do believe that, my experience over the years can add value to the organization. And obviously they feel so too. So here I am on this interview.
So here at RICH, we enforce principles that teach youth that they matter, that they're important. How would an organization like RICH have benefited you growing up as a Black man in an environment that stifles the growth and voices of Black people? How would a RICH benefit you when you were a youth?
Oh, okay. Well, I can tell you when I was a youth, I think we were more community based. Now it's a challenge.
Mhm.
Times have drastically changed. Uh, there has been no respect for the eldership, no respect for kids. Um, the system has failed us in terms of education and support across the board. Now, if an organization like that was around at that time, I would deem it as a major contribution to the community because I grew up in the 60s. And during that time, we had civil unrest. Um, but at the same time, we had all of those things sitting in the back of the bus, drinking from the colored water, and supposedly not as much opportunity that's available today. Um, we still had a sense of community. Uh, if you saw somebody that had a few drinks on the street, and I grew up out of a single parent background, so if you saw somebody outside and they had a little bit too much to drink, they would straighten up when they saw a mother walking with their little kid, you know.
Yeah.
Or if somebody said like the word, you know, dang, something that was considered a bad word back then. Somebody said, "Hey man, don't you see that lady over there with her kid? You better watch your mouth." And, "Oh, I'm sorry." They tipped their, "Oh, I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm sorry." How you know, it was like that. So I think it would have been a major contributor, um, in terms of reaching out to young, especially Black males. Uh, and I think it has a lot of value today. I think across one of the things I like about Rich though, it bridges the color barrier because I don't really believe there's a such thing as a color barrier. Like I just said, I grew up in the 60s when I saw Black men and women die at my feet, people getting lynched. My mother put me behind her skirt and fighting, you know. So I know the true value of education, and I know what the price it can cost. And ultimately, we struggled to vote. Malcolm X used to buy me sodas when I was a little boy for 10 cents. I saw Dr. King get stabbed with a fingernail file. Used to see Adam Clayton Powell on the ladder, Reverend Sharpton, all these different, trailblazers trying to make a better life for me when I was a kid. So this being a part of the RICH organization is, kind of like my way of paying forward, especially now. And again, RICH crosses the color barriers. And one of the things that I like, it it allows us to not just think of our local environment, and it transcends us from a neighborhood because I just said when I was growing up, we were community minded. So here it seems a lot of young people are hood minded. So if you speak out, words have power. So if you talk about a neighborhood, it's a hood. If you talk about a ghetto, then it is a ghetto. But when you're community minded, each one teach one, each one looks out for your neighbor, each one has a sense of accountability and responsibility to their neighbor and to their kids, to their community. The RICH organization encourages young people to think on a global level, expand their consciousness. And I think that is truly amazing. When anybody has a thought, it goes from a thought to a thing.
Mhm.
So everything is mine. And I think in today's world, we have to show our young people by example that we have to correct our thinking.
Right.
Recalibrate our perspectives and how we see things. So you see the glass half full or the glass half empty. And I think we have to put more responsibility on ourselves, not just the young people, but everybody's involved with the young people, because it takes a village. So I
Yeah.
think that, all of us should raise our vibration. We shouldn't entertain negativity. There are going to be challenges, but we've been an overcomer for over 500 years. And we have been beyond excellence. People talk about strive for excellence, right? And before chattel slavery, we were great, right? Great civilizations, right? So one of the things that I think the RICH organization has been successful at doing and will continue to be successful at doing is pushing beyond excellence. I think at this point in the world, there's going to be we need to raise our vibration. We need to raise our level of self-awareness. We need to set higher standards for ourselves. All right. And when we do that, when we do that, we can surpass excellence. We should strive. Actually, in my opinion, we should strive for perfection. Because when you strive for perfection, you raise the bar beyond excellence, right? I believe Dennis Kimbrough, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who wrote Think and Grow Rich, Black Choice, and a few other books, right? He has a book out called Icon, if I remember, and he talks about identifying individuals and corporations that they went beyond excellence and they strived for perfection, and if you strive for perfection, it's like reaching for the stars. You're going to fall somewhere in between and you're going to be beyond excellence, and I think that the programs that's offered by RICH organization will help us integrate within the global community. So globalization would have a different meaning for us if we do the right thing for our kids. Also, these programs keep the mind engaged on a very positive level, and it introduces them to like-mindedness, not just locally, nationally, but internationally.
I agree, and you touched on a lot of topics that would have covered my next question, but I'll ask it anyways. I wanted to know, why do you think it is important for youth to learn that they matter, to see themselves as capable of making positive contributions to the world? You talked about making global impact. Why do you think it's important for them to know that they matter so that they can make that impact?
I think it's important. Someone once said, if I could only have one wish, I'd wish for an idea. And it has been proven throughout the ages that from, people of this persuasion, they have come up with brilliant ideas that have benefited entire civilizations. And if it's good for us, it's good for the rest of the world. And we have to reach a point where, as I said earlier, rich goes beyond color. The soul is the soul, the spirit is the spirit, and I'm got the title of reverend and all that kind of stuff. I'm not trying to be preachy, but Christ said one must worship in spirit and in truth.
Truth, yes.
Okay, so that's my little sermon part, but I believe that we bring something to the table. And people talk about change, and this is something I always like to make a point to say whenever I get an opportunity to speak. People always talk about change. We have to move beyond change, because our president at the time, Barack Obama, brought change. Someone else got in office, changed it back. So we have to move beyond change, and that's where our mindset has to be. We have to go beyond change to a transformation, and a transformation starts with a self evaluation. And God don't make no junk. So everyone is here for a divine purpose. We don't know what that purpose is all the time, but we make a plan and God make a purpose. Now, 30 years ago, the RICH organization made a plan and used a good doctor and everybody else involved and moved that plan into a purpose. How do we know? Because I've had the opportunity to actually talk with and meet some of the graduates of those programs that were instituted by RICH. And these men and women are grown. They have families of their own, and they have successful careers, and they have come back to pay forward. They've come back and volunteer their time. And I'm really impressed with that. And one young man, I got a chance to talk to him, and he said, yeah, you see all those gray hair in Dr. Dawson's head? I said, yeah. He said, I helped put a lot of them up there. I said, really, you were that bad? He said, oh, I was bad. He said, I was bad. He said, but she never gave up on me. And I heard that quite a few times from people that I've met that have grown up in the program. She never gave up. So I'm hoping that RICH organization one day be a household word, and with good people like yourself, I believe that will happen. Because it's our responsibility. I mean, each generation has its challenges. And, I think overall, where we are today, a lot of folks that were in positions of power didn't do a very good job. And now our young people have to clean up the mess. And the only way they can do that is to activate their imagination, utilize the programs that RICH and other organizations have put forward, and take advantage and not come up with any excuse. They have to step over every excuse. I'm quite sure you've heard so many people talk about in different type of in different type of neighborhoods. They say, well, I wasn't providing an opportunity, this and this, the one excuse after another. Well, we already know that. We already know in 1934, the Federal Housing Administration said, we're not going to fund any type of initiatives in these areas, in these zip codes. So we had a defunct educational system, housing system, employment, etc. Money didn't circulate within the community, and all of this stuff within the neighborhood. Yeah, we know all that. Okay, we know all about slavery. We know all about that stuff. What are you going to do about it is the key. What are you going to do about it? You can't blame the president or the Congress or the Senate or this one or that one. What are you going to do about it? Because all of us are born with gifts. God, as I said earlier, don't make any junk. So we're all born with gifts. And one of the key things that the RICH organization does is help activate those gifts. Those in charge, point everything back to that individual young person, so they can understand, like Barack Obama said, yes, you can. Yes, you can achieve. Yes, you can be an odd buster. Yes, you can. I mean, you have to seek knowledge and information. We're trying to push our young people more into a competitive state in terms of technology, because that is the thing right now. Elon Musk talks about AI and the benefits as well as the dangers, and we have to have our people at the helm. I believe that people of color have been saturated in certain areas. Long ago, I was a professional model. I was an actor, voiceovers, and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, we've been saturated in certain, sports and entertainment and film and music and this. So we need, teachers that teach for life instead of a living. We need scientists. We need social workers. They're not making millions and millions of dollars. They're not going to win the Grammys and Oscars, but they're very important. My third grade teacher, Miss Claudia Ward, Black woman, taught me how to read. I used to stutter when I was in the third grade. And I was a little boy that my mom used to put a cereal bowl on my head and cut around it. So I had a bowl cut. Kids used to laugh. I used to wear John Bargain clothes. I was very shy, studied, very smart, but I sat in the corner because kids laughed at me and had the big ears that stuck out. And I just had very low self-esteem. And Miss Claudia Ward said, Miss Johnson, your son's not doing well in my class, and I don't want to leave him back because he's a smart kid, he's a good kid, but he's just, his reading level is not good. She said, but I promise you, Miss Johnson, if you let him spend the summer with me, go to summer school, he will never have the issue again. I spent a summer with Claudia Ward. I always read at that point 2 and 3 grades ahead. And then my uncle, who was a doctor, is a dentist in Maryland, prominent. He noticed the tongue that was tied down to the base of my mouth. Said he's got to have surgery. My mom brought me back to New York. I had the surgery, and being able to speak better, being able to write better, and improve my confidence. And that's what Rich does too. It assures that our kids leave with a better self-esteem. And hopefully it's infectious. Because kids can come home and influence their parents because, again, it takes a village. So sometimes the parents is not with it, but when they see the kids that are so excited and coming back and they've learned new things, they want to share it with their parents. They want to share it with other kids in school. Comes infectious. And that's key.
You discussed what people bring to the table, what youth bring to the table. And I think it's very ironic because a couple of days ago I was thinking the same thing. What do I bring to the table? And I'm like, I don't like that mindset. I want to be the table. If people ask me what I bring to the table, I am the table. Okay. I am the transformation. And I think that's the type of mindset that Rich puts in you. That's a self-affirming mindset that they embrace so much. So to finish,
can I just say something about that?
yeah, go ahead.
Say something about that. I like what you said. One, this is my opinion based on my experience. If you come to somebody else that already has a table and you want and you expect something, it's not going to be given to you. You're going to have to beg for it.
Right.
Because power is not going to concede anything, and it just like freedom, it has to be claimed, right? You can't go up and say, when we were in slavery, can I have some freedom? No, it had to be claimed. So if you don't have a table, you have no position of power. You got to go to somebody else's table, right? But here's the thing that's interesting. They could have a full course meal. They could have a banquet at their table. As long as you build a table of your own, you don't need to have nothing on it. Exactly. Just by building a table of your own, you're in another position of power.
Yes.
And that is a perfect example of the law of attraction. So once you build that table, then things will come that you need to put on that table. And then you're in a better position of power and you become stable. We have to stabilize our neighborhoods and transform those neighborhoods into communities and understand that those communities are interconnected into the global community. That's why it's so important for us to encourage our young people to understand that they can make a difference. One person can make a difference. Barack Obama, whose family came from Kenya, that one person made a difference. Nelson Mandela made a difference. John F. Kennedy made a difference. Johnson made a difference. He said, okay, I'm going to sign off on the Voters Registration Act. And we were able to start the voting process here in the United States. So one person can make a difference. If you do something heinous, one person, it will make a negative impact in the world. You do something positive. Mother Teresa made an incredible impact in the whole world. So they have to understand that their opinions, their feelings do matter, not just in their immediate household, but it matters to the world. And when I talk to the young people, I tell them, like you, Janine, there's over 8 billion people on the planet. Out of the 8 billion people on the planet, there has never been anyone like you, and there never will be anyone else like you. You are unique. You are a masterpiece in and of yourself. We have to make sure that our young people are clear about that, because guess what? That's our greatest natural asset, is our young people. Not the gold and the silver and this greatest asset right here. No matter what your color is, the greatest asset is here.
Yes, I agree completely. So to finish off, I would love for you to pitch Rich to the youth, not to the youth watching this podcast who aren't aware of what Rich offers, right? So I want you to take 30 seconds, because it is the 30th anniversary, to take 30 seconds to pitch Rich to us.
All right. For all of you young people out there that are watching this podcast, I'd like you to explore Rich by going to their website. And all you guys know Google a lot better than me. So please go to our website and look at all the programs that are available, the opportunities that are available, where you can begin to make your plan that will ultimately allow you to step into your purpose, because there's no longer jobs or just over broke scenarios. And you don't want that with your life. Many of your relatives have gone through that, and you see where it has gotten them, and you see where the global economy is right now. These programs can offer you a gateway to ultimately having a career and having a say-so in the direction to push humanity forward. So I would urge you to do that, because if you want something different in life, you got to do something different.
All right, that's true. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today.
That's my pleasure.
Thoughts. We appreciate it. I know Dr. Dawson appreciates it. And I'm looking forward to how everyone takes all the things that we discussed today. So thank you so much.
I hope so, and continue to do what you do. Maybe one day we'll see you on MSNBC, CNN. All I know is if you win one of them top newscasting awards, just kind of mention my name.
Okay. I definitely will. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you for checking out today's podcast episode. You can check out the playlist, 30th anniversary podcast playlist, for part 1, which we had Evita Belmonte as our first guest. So definitely check that out if you haven't before. And please like, share, subscribe to the RICH Organization's YouTube page so you can get more content on all things growth mindset and the RICH Organization. Thank you. Thank you.